Welcome to the 23rd podcast of At Beth Jordan Chat With Me 23. And I'm delighted to start 2025 with a new author, or I should say a new guest, the delightful and colorful Rosee Elliott, author of Behind the Mirror. So welcome, Rosie.
Hello, Beth, and thank you so much for inviting me to come on and speak about my book, which I am absolutely passionate about.
Okay, great. So we're going to have a chance to find out what is your passion about writing about color, and like to really dig deep into color. Color is important, isn't it? Very important in our lives. So let's just before we continue, a reminder to all our listeners and readers that the main reason why this platform exists is to help indie authors have an opportunity to speak and tell their story and share whatever it is that they want to share about their passion, about the writing process, about the topic, the content, the context, and everything about themselves and about their background. I'd like to find a little bit more about Rosie. She's a very colorful lady, and I believe, Rosie, you are wearing, what kind of colors are you wearing today?
Yes, so I am wearing the equivalent of my, it's almost a royal blue, but lagoon and a turquoise.
Okay, so these are your colors.
These are my colors. So I am a winter in
Okay.
our system of doing color analysis. So I wear cool, clear and bright colors, which is actually what helps to bring me alive and make me memorable, which is the other important thing.
Ah, because when I look at your face, there is such a clarity in your skin. And I'm guessing those like winter colors as cool colors really reflect in your face and your hair, and everything about you looks so fresh.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
lovely.
you. And that's
Okay.
that's the really important bit about color analysis. That's what it
Um, about the way it makes your face, skin, and your hair just glow.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So let's find out really about you and the background of your life that led you to, well, write this book. And one thing you told me that I think is very funny, but I think it's very relevant, is how you traded in the Land Rover for the Lamborghini. I love that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, please?
So, why am I here and how did I get here?
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's a fascinating story because I am of a certain age, and my first husband, let's put it out there, belonged to an oil company, worked for an oil company, and we were living out in the Far East on the island of Borneo. And I continually say that he traded me in for a younger, blonder model.
Okay.
Now, and I came back home, and that was fine. I went back into teaching, and I ended my teaching career as head teacher in Banbury Primary School. And when I finished, one of the reasons I finished was because House of Colour is a franchise, and
Okay.
the franchise for my area was up for sale. And I thought, right then, let's go for it. So but the reason that I went back into teaching and whatever was that when I came home, as I say, having been traded in for a younger, blonder model, I
Mhm.
decided, right, what was I going to do? I said to myself, I am never getting married again, and I certainly will not have anything to do with anybody that has an oil related background. Well, what did I do? I just changed company. And that's when I say that, and I've worked a lot about myself, and I'll come into that again when I speak about the book, is that working with a business coach, he said, Rosie, you're going to have to stop saying that. It's very negative. How can you flip it? And off the top of my head came this, well, I traded in a Land Rover for a Lamborghini. And I've been married to the Lamborghini now for 30 years. So he must be doing something right.
Can I just ask you, does he happen to be a yellow Lamborghini?
Probably he was a red, golden haired, and he
Oh,
was a bit younger. So yeah, he's very special.
all right. Okay. I'm so pleased to hear that. I just love that whole, I don't know what you call like a little tagline, really. This is wonderful. So tell us about, in fact, the why, the where, the when, the how, the what, in whichever order you want to tell us. The story of how you developed this person development book, color, how it's relatable to you, to people around you. Because before I go any further, I was just thinking about something. Do you remember, well, if in Borneo, you've come from Borneo, so you had the most magnificent bird species.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And they were all the male birds
Yes,
and the colors
and their colours.
and their
And
colors.
it's the same, yeah, and it's the same in this country as well,
Yes.
about the birds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's not to me the birds in the birds. I remember because I've been in fashion a long time. And I remember looking back at old fashioned plates when men were dressed like peacocks compared to the women.
Absolutely. And if we go back to Elizabethan times, it is fascinating because it was almost color and style was
Yes.
almost a way of finding out where people's social standing was.
Yes.
It was about it even went back down into the materials they could wear, the colors that they could wear.
Yeah.
For men, it was the height of their heels that they could wear.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
For the women, it was the amount of seed pearls they could wear on their bodice. And it was all to do with social standing.
Right.
And it's quite interesting because if you come back into where we are now, I tell a story about when I was head teacher at Banbury Primary School, and one of the first head teachers' meetings that I went to, everybody, males, females, whatever, they were either in grey, black, or navy blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, we looked like whatever the collective term is for crows. We were just dowdy.
Murder of crows.
Is it a murder?
Murder of crows.
Well, there we go. A murder. Well, that's what we looked like. And I made up my mind that the next time I was not going to wear that. And I dressed in top to toe in scarlet. Now, it's one of my, what we call wow colors.
Mm-hmm.
I can wear it from head to toe in one single block of color. Mm-hmm. Now, it's quite interesting because some people would see color, if we get into the psychology of color, as see that as quite aggressive. Mm-hmm. Whereas other people will see it as very powerful.
Yes.
I choose to see it as very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if you go into a crowded room and you're the only one wearing scarlet, you stand out, you are memorable, and you're very easy to spot in a crowded room. Right. So you have to be careful that you've got the answers for the difficult questions that are going to come your way, and be able to stand up and stand out and be confident in your own skin.
Absolutely. And I recall I've loved tango for a long time, and I always used to wear black when I went to tango. And one day, the guy who was organizing it said, "Beth, why do you always wear black? You should be wearing red to stand out. If you don't, you're not going to be asked to dance. Nobody will see you in black." So I started to wear red. And then I got uncomfortable. I got a little bit uncomfortable about wearing red. I felt not quite so confident to wear red. But anyway, it was just one of the colors I used to wear.
Yeah.
But you're right. You wear a color to stand out. So let's talk about your book and about how color can make you stand out. So just feel free to talk about whatever aspect of it you want to talk about.
Okay. So how it came about, people will often say to me, Beth, did you always want to write a book? And I went, no. And they went, well, where did it come from? Yeah. And it was fascinating because during COVID, as House of Colour consultants, we couldn't work because we do all of our work face to face. And I was out walking the dog. Well, I'd done a course and I became a mentor for imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I also have a certified transactional analyst within the education area of transactional analysis. And I was out walking the dog and I thought, right then, I'd just finished my course in imposter syndrome. And I thought, well, now what can I do? And I thought, I know what I can do. I can write a book. Because, of course, I'd been immersed ever since I was 21. I'd been in teaching. I'd been in and love learning, teaching, how when children are very little, they're like little sponges and they're open to suggestion. They're open to whatever you put in their way. They have that beautiful curiosity. So I thought, right then, I better find out how I can write a book. So I did. So I found Michael Heppel, who told us all and ran a course in that you can write a book in 90 days.
Yes.
And you know this, Beth, once I got my head around it, I wrote it in 90 days. So the full title of the book, and then I thought, well, what am I going to call it? And at that point in time, having come through working on imposter syndrome, I thought, people are so insecure about who they really are. And so the full title of the book was Behind the Mirror, What Others Don't See. And what I wanted to help people was, with all my learning, my own learning about learning and teaching and transactional analysis, which deals with your ego system, and also imposter syndrome, I wanted to develop something that people could use and go, I know I could maybe do that. And you know this, it might help me. So within the book, there is a lot about what goes on inside you, how you sabotage yourself, how you are always worried about what other people think about you. It's really interesting when you said, Beth, that you felt you stood out a little bit when you were wearing scarlet, because what I would be encouraging my clients to do is to remain visible, not invisible. And so I started. And there's a big chapter in the book about inside. And that goes in all, and it speaks all about the messages we received when we were growing up from our significant others, from our parents, from our teachers, as we got a bit older, from our peer group. And there's a lot in there about thinking about actually tricks and bits and pieces that you can do to help yourself get over that, to actually begin to recognize yourself for what you are, and to begin to gather that or improve that self-image of yourself, to gain that confidence, to be able to walk into a room and not go, oh my goodness gracious me, who am I going to talk to? Do I really want to be here? But you go in feeling confident with that courage. And that, for me, is one of the best things that I can give to my clients. So, but the flip side of that, so that's what goes on the inside. And then I thought, right, with my background in color and style, I have to then look at the benefits of color and style. And so it's quite interesting again that you said that, you know, when you went to your classes, that you dressed in black. Because some of my clients walk into my studio and they go, you're going to tell me, Rosie, that I can't wear black. And I go, well, maybe I am. But I'm going to give you alternatives to wear that black. The color wheel that is behind me is the basis of all our color work. And it was the color wheel has been around for centuries. And in actual fact, this was Johannes Itten that worked in the Bauhaus School of Art in Europe that developed this. And we then took it on board, and we do a seasonal color analysis in House of Color. So we find out for you whether you are better in cool colors or warm colors, and whether you are better in clear and bright or soft and muted. And the interesting thing is that the science of it all is to do with the fat layer under our skins. It's either blue-based or yellow-based.
Right. Not many people know that.
No, and that's where the science lies. So people will also come in and say, Rosie, do you know what season I am? And I'll go, no, because we're trained not to. We're trained that the colors that drapes will not lie. So we begin with finding out whether you're better in blue-based or cool, or yellow-based or warm. And then we find out, are you better in clear and bright colors or soft and muted colors?
Can I just stop you? So is it a matter of draping the fabric of the specific color over the person? Or is it something else as well?
It's to do, we have our drapes that are organized in the season's colors.
Okay.
And we drape them around our clients, and it's how, you know, you were saying before about how my skin looks really clear and fresh. Well, that's what we're looking for. I tease my clients and say, I can give you a moustache if you would like one. Because what happens when you go in the wrong colors, you get shadows.
Yes.
You get shadows across here, real shadows under here. It can give you a double chin. It can give you all sorts of funny things. And for me too, it's about looking at people's eyes. So the whites of their eyes pop in the most beautiful way. And also the color of your eyes can sometimes change with the colors that we put on in down here.
I've definitely noticed that.
So that is where that originates from. So the we were speaking to about, I also go in and work with companies, and I speak about the business benefits of color and style, because it's really important in business that you recognize that first impression counts. And Mehrabin did research, and he discovered that in 0.33 seconds, your first impression is made. Yes. So when you and I met one another online, in here, we'd already made our first impression about the other.
Yes.
I do like you, and I think you're gorgeous. However, that's where we speak about being visible or invisible. Right. So many people dress in black. They feel that black is safe. And I'm not sure that it is, because certain people or women of a certain size dress in black because they think it makes them look thinner.
Do you know that? Do you not think it's in a way it's a hiding?
Correct. It's absolutely so they become invisible in the crowd. Yeah. And it's such a shame. And I tell my clients, I advise my clients, I say, or encourage my clients to say, we're all beautiful. We're all beautiful on the inside, and we just have to take what we are on the outside and make the absolute best of it. Dress it up, be colorful, walk into a room, believing in yourself, in that self-image. And I think that once you've done it once and you find it works, it's easier the next time.
So I know that in the corporate world, there is the uniform for men and women, male and female, in the suits, the colors. Are you seeing a big change in that area, which is like almost like the pinnacle of business, that corporate world, which actually I don't quite believe it is the pinnacle, but everything now, a lot more now, the younger people who are having their own businesses, they're dressing much more casually, not necessarily smartly, but I'm intrigued by that corporate world, which is strict and uniform in everything they do. They have to be to some extent. But what about the way they dress now? Is it changing?
Absolutely. So I retired from teaching 10 years ago. And there was certainly, in amongst head teachers, deputy head teachers, that management layer, there was definitely a code of dress. Yeah. I wouldn't have dreamt of going into school without a jacket, a skirt or a pair of trousers, wearing a small heel, makeup on, and looking the best that I felt that I could possibly be. Now, I think since COVID, because we spent nearly 2 years behind a screen, I think that professional dress has faded into the background. So I still have some of those suits, not suits, but jackets and trousers and whatever. I wouldn't dream of wearing them now. They're too formal. Yeah. And I think they give off that. If I welcomed clients to my door, they might think, oh my God, I've come to see the head teacher. So I count this, it's a little gilet, but I still count that as a jacket. Right. So I've still got that professional side of me, but it's a lot softer. Yeah. I think we've gone into smart casual. Yes. And I'm not sure that we will ever get that professional dress back again. I hope we do, because I loved it, but it's very, very formal, and to some people might be a little bit scary.
So I want to ask you a question. So having a background in fashion and the world of color, and I do know that the colorists will predict colors 2 years ahead of the season, which I think is crazy. So when I used to work in color, I would be using all these colors, and then eventually when the colors came out, I was already a year into the future. And I used to wonder, though, all the colors that we would predict, how well did they suit the time in which it was going to be manufactured and worn and released into the department stores? Because at one time, emerald green was so fashioned. It was promoted to such an extent, but I hardly ever saw anybody wearing emerald green. So what do you think about this world of fashion when they predict colors that are really not suitable for a lot of people? What do women do? I'll come to men in a moment. What do women do in your world of color?
Well, I mean, it's fascinating because, of course, this year's color is called mocha, right? Oh. Now, it's hilarious because in winter, my winter palette, we don't have, well, we have a brown, it's called mauve, but we don't really do brown. I just will not be wearing it. Yeah. However, our warmer seasons in spring and autumn, they will be able to use that color, but they will adapt it into their own color spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They will look very on style. They'll just look fantastic. But the summers and the winters, we won't be going there, Beth.
No, and that's what I find fascinating about colors. So, and women, and we're kind of being told, well, green is the color, or purple, a very deep purple is the color, but it doesn't suit a lot of people. And the market is flooded with that, and also accessories, shoes, everything, even makeup. So, I guess what you're doing is helping women to disregard what's happening and choose colors that are going to really work for them and make them feel better about themselves and more confident.
Absolutely. So they go away with their palette. You can see behind me their palette. There's 36 colors in that palette. They will all either be yellow-based, warm, blue-based, cool, clear and bright, or soft and muted. They go away with a beautiful fan that has tiny little swatches of all of their colors that are on here, and a booklet that actually says, this is how you can be a winter, summer, autumn, spring. So there's a fantastic amount of guidance and information that they go away with. We show them how to work that fan. Now, the thing is, these are their 36 best colors, but they're not the only colors they can wear. They can go and look for the tones in between those 36 colors. So it's not just a quarter of the colors on the color wheel, it's actually a quarter of the colors in the whole world. So nobody should get stuck in finding something that they absolutely adore and love to wear.
Yeah. So do the women who come to, do they come back to you and say, you know, I'm wearing these colors that you have guided me towards, but I don't feel happy about them, or I don't feel comfortable. Do they come back and say that to you?
Not often. No.
Okay.
No,
So
because
you get it right. You have
if we get it right, we get it right.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Sometimes we will get a client that her hair has changed color. And she goes, do you know this? I'm not still sure if my season is right. And I'll go, come back and have a review. And what we might do is we might look at her own season again, and we might tweak some of the colors that we used to say you can wear at 100%. We might say, you know, I think we maybe need to change that you would only wear it at 50%. A pair of trousers, a skirt, a jacket, whatever. And again, it reinforces how beautiful their seasonal colors are on them. I would then go in and remind them what the wrong colors do and look like on their faces. And they go, oh my goodness gracious me. Because by the end of a color season, the first time round, they're actually going, oh, I would never wear that color. And oh my God, isn't it awful on you, on me? And I'll go, absolutely, on you. However, if that season was in the room with us, you would see that color looks absolutely fantastic. So that's the way it works. I had actually, and if we style as well, is I had a young lass in and she said, you know, Rosie, I know I came and did my style ages ago, but I don't know. She's come through a divorce. She's changed her job. And she said, I'm just not quite sure. I feel a misfit. So she came back and we did a style review. And I listened. I listened to what she was saying. And she said, do you know, my ex-husband told me he didn't fancy me anymore because I was fat. I said, well, just for starters, you're not fat. I said, you've got beautiful curves. And I said, and let's remember the style, the personal style that we gave you, and think about how it fits with your body shape now. Well, she danced out of the studio. She said, Rosie, thank you so much. You've just gone back with me and you've given me that confidence again, that self-confidence. And she said, I don't care if and she's not fat. She's a big girl, but she is not fat. And she said, I said, value your beautiful curves because that's what you're made of.
I'll tell you a little story. Just take a minute. I have a cousin And when we were little, I used to envy her beautiful hair. She had long, curly, tawny brown hair with tawny brown eyes. And as she got older, she put on a lot of weight. But one of the things she always did is she always wore bright colors and put on her makeup beautifully and wore hats. And I never saw her size, I only saw her face. So because it was important, she had on this beautiful blue hat with her beautiful yellow brown eyes. And I sort of, the rest of her was kind of in the background.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think it's fascinating because if we speak about this being your triangle of communication,
Mm.
once we've all looked one another up and down once, and that's not to do about being no, it's to do with, do I trust you? Do I want to come towards you? This
Mm.
is all that we want. I
Yes.
have a friend who has an immune system, and I went to visit her, and we had a cup of coffee. But she was wearing a mask, and she was sitting on the other side of a table from me, and she's got a very soft voice anyway.
Mm.
And it was fascinating because I couldn't see her mouth. Sometimes when she dropped her voice even further, because she was telling me secrets, I didn't know what she was saying. And that made me realize how important your lipstick is
All right.
and
Okay.
how important it is that we actually see someone's mouth when they're talking.
Okay.
And speaking about bright colors, I was in the changing room at the gym yesterday, and I was talking to this lady, and she said, "So, which primary school was it that you were head teacher at in Banbury?" I said, "Oh, Banbury Primary." She said, "Oh," she said, "I think you would know my children," and she gave me their names. And her little girl, she was in my nursery, actually, I remember
Yeah.
her. She said she came home and she said, "Mummy," was that, I was Mrs. Elliott by that time.
Mm.
"Mrs. Elliott is so beautiful. She wears such bright colors."
Yeah.
And I thought there was a little girl already
Yeah.
looking at the bright colors.
Yeah.
And what we do to them with school uniforms is we
Oh,
kind of, yes, we almost knock the color out of them.
yeah. Yeah. How do we actually come back to color after wearing school uniforms for
Oh, I
however many
know.
years? It's
Yeah,
crazy. Yes.
yeah.
So there's one thing I want to ask you. Looking at the lips, I remember you talked to me about saying women only needed to have three colors of lipstick. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So what we do, and it always amazes my clients as well. They go, "Well, you're not getting into my makeup drawer." So the interesting thing is when you come and have your colors done, we do it in daylight. And that's why so many people make wrong purchases. They buy
Mm.
an electric light, they think they know the color, they get it home, and they
Mm.
suddenly go, "I don't know what I was thinking about."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same when we go and choose our makeup. You'll choose them in electric light.
Mm.
Okay, that's number one. The other one is that the sales girl in whichever company you're going to buy a lipstick in has not done her color training. That's fine. So we speak about your 3 points of red. So as a winter, my 3 points of red are bright pink, cool red, and a burgundy. Now,
Okay.
House of Color does all of its own makeup.
Mm.
So our lipsticks have got the right color base. So the lipsticks that I use will have a blue base,
Oh,
and
okay.
the lipsticks for springs and autumns, they will have a yellow base. Therefore, people go away with the correct three lipsticks, and I go, whatever, I don't care if you don't wear any other bit of makeup,
Yeah.
put on your lipstick in the morning.
I'm gonna have to get that for you because I've never, I love red lipstick. I've never been able to wear it. I feel like a tart, sorry to say it. Bright pink, I look kind of hard. And so I always go for the pale lipsticks, which like don't do anything for me.
No, they won't. So it's quite interesting. So, Beth, if you are an autumn or a
Oh, I
spring,
must say, I'm sorry I used the word tart. I hope I didn't offend anybody by saying that, but the red color was
but it's,
just,
yes,
sorry,
well,
sorry, folks.
a lot, yes, a lot of clients feel that way. They feel tarty because they haven't found the correct red
Yeah,
lipstick.
yeah.
So, for example, for the autumns, for example, they won't necessarily. They'll do a warm red.
Mm.
They won't do a. They'll do a coral as its
Yes,
base color.
yes,
So you're keeping the colors warm rather than cool, if that
right.
makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
So and almost everybody walks out of the studio with their 3 points of red lipstick.
So we've talked about the women. How many men come to you for
Yeah,
coloration, recoloration?
yeah. So I have a lovely story to tell. So I was at a networking meeting, and this lovely gentleman sat down beside me, and he said, "I don't believe we've met." I said, "No, we haven't." And he said, "So what do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm a colour and image consultant." "Oh," he said, "what does that mean?" I said, and he was wearing a lovely pale blue shirt. And I said, "Well, if you came to me, I would tell you if that blue shirt is the right colour." He said, "Is it?" I said, "That is the £280 question. You've got to
Good
come
for
and
you.
see me and, and go through the process." Well, bless his cotton socks, he's coming on the 20th of February.
Wow.
So a lot of men come because their wives push them.
Okay.
Some men come because they're climbing up the greasy pole, they've been promoted, they suddenly realize that they're going to have to stand up in front of larger crowds on behalf of their company, and they want to know that they've got it right. And so we go through exactly the same process with them and get them to the right color. But for the men, it's often about shirts and ties,
Yes, I was going
getting
to
that
ask you about that.
color
Yes, yes.
that color right. I was at another networking meeting a couple of weeks ago, and this gentleman came in, and he was in a beautiful suit. It was pale grey. He had on what color? It was probably a white shirt, but he had on a bright orange tie. I went, "Oh my goodness, you're wearing a tie." And he said, "I always wear a tie. I think it's so important." I said, "I absolutely agree with you." Now, the interesting thing is, Beth, I can't remember his name. I can't remember what he does, but I will always remember how he was dressed. He
Yeah.
was memorable,
Immaculate.
absolutely immaculate, clean shaven.
Mm.
Um, he didn't, I mean, that's the other thing, that sometimes men perhaps wear an awful lot of aftershave. He didn't. So it
Mm.
was fine. I was quite comfortable standing
Yeah.
next to him. But that was that thing about men. And I I think they do need guidance. I wish
Mm.
more of them would come to us.
Yes, I wanted to ask you. So, in days gone by, I prefer men's department stores and clothing to women's. I like the way they fit. I like the sleekness of men's suits. I know they don't have boobs, so
Yeah,
that makes a big difference. But there's something about the clean cutness of the chinos, the shirts, the jackets, the
yeah.
overcoats, everything that I really love. But what's happened over the years? We don't have much time left, but I must ask you these
Mm.
questions. What's happened over the years when men were flamboyant in their dress and it changed to the women becoming more flamboyant and men took almost a back seat? What's the psychology, the history behind that? What happened with men?
Do you know this, Beth? That's a really, really good question. And I'm not sure that I know the answer.
Mm,
Why? Did Was it to get on in the working world that they felt that looking flamboyant and wearing lots of colour was inappropriate?
yes, possibly.
Was it that they felt, a bit like you saying that you felt slightly wearing your scarlet dress, you weren't comfortable?
Mm,
Did they suddenly become less comfortable in colours? The
mm.
other interesting thing is that we say that we're all born with a innate love of colour, and then our mothers get hold of us.
Yes, true.
Was it mothers that started saying, "Oh, you can't wear that bright red shirt"? I don't know.
Yeah.
With my own sons, I've got two sons, and I've got one that is looks immaculate in a dark. He's probably a winter like me, but he won't come and have his colours done.
Mm.
He wears a dark, dark, beautiful navy suit, beautiful white shirt, beautiful silk tie, and his hair is whiter than I am. He looks absolutely stunning. And I and he the area in which he works, he needs to have that look. He
Mm.
needs to have that professional look in, and I think it's in order that he is believed and seen to be a professional.
Yeah.
My other son was in the Navy for 16 years, and interestingly enough, he's probably an autumn. And wearing that dark, dark navy uniform, he looked a bit scary. When they went out to the
Oh,
last 3 years of his naval career, he was in Italy working for NATO,
can I just
and they,
stop you? Would you say that those kind of colors are about power? And if you start to wear greens and pinks and oranges in that environment, the power doesn't sit so well with those colors.
I would absolutely agree. And what we also say is the darker the color, the more impact and authority it holds.
Yes. I'm going to just stop you for a moment. In fact, I've just lost my train of thought for a moment, but maybe we have to have another conversation later on. But I just want to ask you, at some point, I'd like to pick up on this topic about what happens to us as children when as we grow older, we lose all of that color. So I'm going to have another conversation with you later on because I think this is a very good topic for a lot of people.
Mm,
I believe personally that we're losing ourselves in fashion. I dislike the fashion that's around today, the colors, the styling, the cut of the clothes. They don't enhance the women's beauty. They almost disregard it. It's become a uniform. It's another kind of uniform
mm,
that I see happening around me.
mm,
But there is an area of men's suiting that I love. If I go down to Savile Row in London and look at the specialist men's tailors, like in the old days of Tommy Nutter, and
mm,
oh my God, the suits that they used to wear, the colors, the greens, the pinks, the blues. And okay, on London Fashion Week, as an example, the guys will come striding down the catwalk wearing the most outrageous Jean-Paul Gaultier style of clothes. I love it. I wish more men would dress like that, but I'm sure that there's so much bias against that. So can we have another conversation about this another time?
Oh, I would love to, Beth.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's keep that
Yeah.
in mind. I want to just carry on and come and you told me you're writing a second book. I'd love our listeners to get to know a little bit more about your second book, and then sadly we'll have to draw this to a close. So please tell
Yes.
us about the second book. What is that about?
Okay. So my second book is called Beyond the Mirror, Reflections.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was look into why people lose or have a poor self-image, or why do they lose their self-confidence? What is it that I wanted to explore how strong those messages are when we're little. So for example, I failed my 11 plus and I always thought I was stupid. And again, people have said to me subsequently, excuse me, Rosie, don't be so silly. You've written a book, you've got your master's degree, you've been a head teacher, don't be silly. And it's about the depth that those messages sit in our subconscious that rear their ugly head every now and again and prevent us from doing what we would like to do. How many opportunities do we miss because our inner critic, our inner voice says, who are you to think that you can?
Yes.
And I wanted to do that. And I also am really quite hot on ageism.
Okay.
And I think that I read something the other day that research has been done and that the corporate world is unlikely to offer a job to anyone that's in their 60s because they have this feeling that A, they're a bit slow in taking up on technology and that they won't be as fast as some of the younger. And I'm sorry, I take exception to that. We have so much to give. We have so much to give a company. We've got so much to give to society. And I want to draw attention to that about let's go back and reflect on where we were as youngsters. And let's now reflect. Let's go beyond the mirror. Let's forget about the grey hair. Let's forget about the slightly rounding of our bodies. And let's look at what we can give with courage and confidence to society today.
Yeah. A very, very important topic, very close to my heart. I'm a rebel.
Yes, absolutely. Me too.
Thank you, Rosie, for this really wonderful conversation, so full of color, so full of good insights. And I hope that the listeners will get a real good takeaway. One thing, what would you like the listeners to take away from your conversation with me today?
Oh, what would I like? Use color.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of color.
Okay.
Find out your color. You know, we've got House of Color consultants up and down the country. We love having clients. We love what we do. And don't be afraid of our color. You know, I can wear black. It's in my my palette, but I don't ever wear black. It's really interesting. So be confident, be courageous, use color, believe in yourself, and have a fantastic color. When I have signed my books, I go, be brave, be bold, and above all, be your best self.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you. And where can listeners get your book?
Right. I still have some. They can go directly onto my website, which is www.gobehindthemirror, all one word, .com.
Okay.
And if you buy directly from me, you get 2 little gifts in there as well.
There's a good incentive. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rosie. And we will get together another time after you've written your second book, and let's have another discussion because I think color is so important in our lives. It's a whole big topic, and I wish you all a very colorful day and a colorful year. And I hope to see a lot of you wearing more color if you don't already. Thank you, Rosie Elliott, for a wonderful, wonderful chat. And this is goodbye from us for now, and looking forward to seeing you another time. Bye for now. Bye, Rosie.
Bye now.
Bye.